Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Well, hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. We have yet another episode, and I'm here today with Michele DeFilippo, and she is an amazing woman who has been an entrepreneur for years and a mom as well. And so I'm excited to have her join us because if you've ever thought about writing a book, you need to tune in. So Michele, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, first of all, Sharice, thank you for having me. I appreciate being able to be here with your listeners, and I hope I can be of service to them. As many in your audience probably know, if they are writing or have finished writing a book, independent publishing, self-publishing, has become very complicated in recent years. Authors, when they finish that manuscript, they face an overwhelming number of choices on how best to bring their book to market. And unfortunately, there's not enough transparency among all those choices. So my story, the easy short version, is that we make it at 1106 Design, we make it easy for authors to release a top quality book, keep control of that book, and earn more money every time they sell a book. So my goal today and on other podcasts is to give authors the information they need to ask the right questions and to make the choice that's best for them in the marketplace.
And I love this because, as we talked a little before, I am getting ready. My book's coming out May 6th. And so I've hired somebody and they're helping me through the process. And they said, because I'm going to self-publish, they said, okay, go open a publishing company. So I did, and I'm waiting for them to tell me the next steps. But they're like, we're just going to put it out on Amazon. And I was reading, there's a secret with Amazon that I didn't know. So I don't know if I want to do this. That you said that, is it good? Let me just ask you this. Is it good to publish on Amazon, or would you recommend not?
Oh, yeah, you have to be on Amazon. That's, 80% of all books that are sold on Amazon. So you have to be there. And you also need to be on other platforms like Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. And you have to have your book available if someone should walk into a bookstore and be able and ask to order it. So you have to have it's collectively that's known as distribution. So you have to have wide distribution. There's no choice about that. But the issue is you do not have to go through a publishing company to do that. And that's where the trouble starts, because people either never knew or forgot that self-publishing means that the author is the publisher. You should take control of your book and keep control of your book, because these distribution platforms are available directly to you. You don't need a middleman to put your book on Amazon for you or to put your book on Barnes & Noble for you, because most of the companies that do that are taking some of your money when a book is sold. And they're paying. The key word to look for is royalty. They're paying you a royalty instead of the full publisher compensation when the book is sold. So that's my core message.
Okay. So in other words, you don't technically own your book. The publishing company does.
That's correct. Once you sign up with a publisher, and sometimes they'll kind of reel you in by saying they'll give you a free ISBN. Mm-hmm. Now, an ISBN is basically the model number of your book. It's the way the book industry tracks inventory. Mm-hmm. So if anyone who's giving you a free ISBN is giving you one of their ISBNs, and they become the publisher of record of your book. You are still the author, of course, and you still have the copyright because you wrote the manuscript. But after that, they become the publisher of your book. And what that means is that when a book is sold, they get the reports from Amazon and Barnes & Noble and so forth. They get paid when the book is sold, and then they pay you usually a portion of the money that is received, not the full amount you can get if you put those books up on your own print-on-demand platforms and do it yourself.
Okay. So what are you recommending then? So say that I have this book, because this isn't my first one I'm going to be doing. There's a series. I have a book and I say, okay, now what's my next step? Like, what are your recommendations? Because I saw that you said that if a book costs $20, Amazon is going to take, 40% of that?
Correct. And you can't avoid that no matter who publishes your book, you can't avoid that. That's the retailer's fee for making your book available to the public. So on a $20 book, Amazon's going to take about $8. That's called the wholesale discount. The
Okay.
print cost is going to, usually for a 200-page book, the print cost would be about $4. And so the net to the author should be around $8. Now that varies with the choices, the options that you select. But some self-publishing companies, publishers, hybrid publishers, whatever they call themselves, they're paying authors as little as $1 or $2 every time a book is sold. So they're making more money than the author does
That's
on the book. And that's the alternative to that is companies like mine, 1106 Design. What we do is we help authors prepare the book with the services that you need, editorial and design services and so forth. We help you get set up on the very same platforms for sale as publishers do, only these accounts are in your name. They're not in the publisher's name. So when a book is sold, 100% of the money that you can earn goes directly to your bank account, never to anyone else's first.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so obviously, so I hire you basically as my coach, and then you just take me through the process. Is that?
Yeah, you could call it that. We do answer around 200 questions by the time the book is done. It's basically a 3 or 4 month conversation, depending on the book. And we walk you through it step by step because this is what we do. And we've done it since 2001.
That's fantastic. So as I've been talking about my book, because it's been like my passion project for so long, I come across people, many probably listening right now, that, oh, I've always wanted to write a book, or I've always thought about writing a book. So what would your recommendation be for those people?
Well, I don't think, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Poynter. He was an old-time person who basically started self-publishing when Amazon first came on the scene. He recognized how it was going to change the publishing world. And he used to say 2 things that I remember well. The first thing was that nobody should die with a book inside them. If you want to publish a book, you should do it.
Right.
And the other thing he used to say was that a bookstore is a lousy place to sell books, which it is. So I think you should definitely write your book. I think you should explore all avenues for book sales. You do have to be in the bookstores because that's where most books are sold, but you should also explore direct options in terms of selling, making contact directly with your readers and selling books directly, because then you don't have that 40% wholesale discount taken off the top. When you sell a book. You still got your printing costs, you still have shipping and handling to get the book to the buyer, but the rest goes to you then. So it's really, to the extent that you can sell books directly, much more profitable for you.
That's great. So would you recommend, because I published a book with one of my coaches a couple of years ago, and she had me order them from China, right? So it took a few months to get here, but it was about 40 cents a book, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I have like 5,000 books sitting in my dining room, because I can't sell them. It's a long story. But would you recommend that, or would you recommend it more of an on-demand type where people can, how would you recommend your?
Well, that's an individual choice, right? Back, I don't know how long ago that happened to you, but back in the day, if you wanted to order books from what we would call a traditional book printer, you would have to order thousands of copies to get a decent unit price. And then you would have to worry, you take delivery, store the books, figure out how you're going to get them into the hands of your buyers. Right. Then print on demand came along and made that pretty much obsolete. Now, it's not obsolete if, let's say you're a speaker and you go out and speaks in front of audiences once a month or twice a month, and you can sell books in the back of the room, then by all means, go ahead and place that bulk order, right? But for most people, print on demand is the way to go because you don't pay for the printing until you actually sell that book. And yet, if you do have an event, you can still order books delivered to yourself from your print on demand platform. If you should need, books, physical books in hand for a book signing or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what type of services do you provide?
Okay, we do everything from manuscript to market. We can provide manuscript editing. Then we would usually carry on with cover design and then interior design. Then we would proofread the book after it's laid out and designed. Then we make an ebook. Then we help the author get set up on the print-on-demand platforms in their own name. And after that, it's all on autopilot. You don't have to lift a finger, except for marketing. You always need to market your book.
So I've talked with some, like I know some people that they don't write their book. They have the concept, but they have a ghostwriter basically. So they say, here's what I want to talk about. They write a few things and then the ghostwriter can take it and run with it. Do you offer those services or do you recommend that?
No, we don't get involved in the writing, but I do know many book coaches and writing coaches and ghostwriters that I could refer someone to if they want to do that.
Okay.
It's expensive. Well, as you can imagine, it's expensive, right? Because they are writing the book for you. So, you know, ghostwriters might charge upwards of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no clue. That is a lot. So you have to sell a lot of books. And if you're only making $8 a book or, you know, less.
Yeah. And the thing is, and that's fine. I guess if you're the CEO of a multinational corporation, that's worth it because you've got better things to do. But you do have to spend the time with the ghostwriter anyway to tell them what you want to say. So you might as well just sit in front of your computer and put it down on paper yourself. After that, there's all kinds of editors and proofreaders that can polish it up for you.
That's great. And I think like I've learned so much in this process because I didn't know there's a Chicago style, or I think I always use MLA or APA, right? Formatting. And they're like, nope, you need to do Chicago style. Okay. Is that common with books or?
Yeah, it depends on the nature of the book. We mostly use Chicago. That's the style guide used throughout most of publishing. But we have authors who come to us and want us to use APA or MLA, and we will just do that if that's what they want.
So tell me, in your opinion, because this is something where in my first draft, I had quotes from everybody, right? And they said, no, you can't do that because you have to have permission from each person. And I'm like, what? And so what are some things that authors starting out should know so that it saves them time later? Because it took a lot of time to fix all that, that you'd recommend.
Well, yes, you do have to have permission, and you do need to give credit to someone when you quote them in your book. It's just, you know, courtesy, if nothing else. So I would think if you're working with a good editor from the start, they would flag that for you.
Okay.
Definitely. And say, okay, who said this? You know, you can't claim someone else's words as your own.
Right. And even like I would give them credit by their name. So-and-so said this, but I was, you know, they said, no, you really should probably get permission. I thought, oh, forget it.
Well, that's that. I guess you would file that under the category of just it's never too much effort to be safe, right?
Yeah.
Chances are the person you're quoting would be delighted that you mentioned them.
Right. Well, I would think so too, but
yeah, but just in case, you know, they're a little cranky and they create an issue, if you can just keep that paper trail and say that you attempted to get permission. Sometimes permissions can be very time consuming. Sometimes you'll go out and request permissions and you won't get an answer. But if you can prove that you attempted to get permission, then if an issue comes up, then you're safe.
Okay. What about authors? What do they need to know about an interior design of the book?
Oh, yeah. There's so much misinformation about that now. If you listen to the information on the internet now, people will tell you to format your book in Microsoft Word or some other program. Some of the major platforms are offering basically machines where you can dump your manuscript into an automated bookmaking program, but that's not the way a book is done. A major publisher will always typeset the book, and that's what we do. And book typesetting is very detailed. We attend to all sorts of issues that make the book easy to read and that don't distract the reader. And the reason for that is that we want the reader to focus on what you're saying, not be distracted by poor spacing or gaps between words or so forth. There's a whole science called book page composition, and typesetters get gray hairs attending to all the rules. I can tell you that. But the result is an easy to read book that looks professional.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I've learned so much that I commend you, because there's so much to writing a book that I never knew, because it's like, well, here it is. And, because I'm somebody who's written a ton of research papers, right? So that's just the way it is. But no, with a book, there's so much information. So why should somebody hire you instead of just going and doing it on their own?
Well, it's like any line of work, right? If you haven't been trained and you don't have experience and you didn't get to work with people who taught you how to do it the right way, you're not going to get the same results as someone who does it for a living.
Right.
And you've put so much effort and time into that manuscript. Now is not the time to skimp and to get, you need to give it a great presentation now, because this is what you're offering to the public, and the public knows the difference. If you release a book that has typos or bad typesetting, they're going to post a bad review about your book, and there's nothing you can do to get that back.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So if you don't give your book a good presentation, a good cover design, a good interior design, then you're really reducing your chances to succeed. And after all that effort, why would you do that?
And I think that's because I had somebody approach me. I did a publicity summit, right? And it wasn't cheap, but I thought, okay, so I've spent 2 years of my life writing this book, and now I have it published and it sits there, nobody knows about it. Why would I do that? And so what are some things that you'd recommend to people that once they have their book in process, or, it's in production, what should they do to be able to get more attention to their book? Or what do you recommend when you're coaching?
Well, you should actually start thinking about your market before you begin writing the book, right? But once it's in production, then you can start to get serious about, okay, where's my audience? How am I going to connect with them? Where do they hang out online? What are they looking for? What problem am I solving? And then start to promote your book. The one thing I would always say to authors is, please don't do pre-orders while your book is still in production. Focus on one thing first. Focus all of your attention on the production of the book. Then when that's done, we can set it aside, and then you can start to pre-market your book and set up your pre-order if that's what you want to do. But I don't even recommend pre-orders unless you have a great big audience waiting for the book. Just, finish it, get it up there, and start talking about it once it's available for sale. That's my advice.
It's fantastic. Okay, so 2 things that if I'm brand new thinking I want to write a book, what are 2 pieces of advice that you'd recommend?
The first thing is to figure out whether your book is a hobby or you intend to sell it and run your publishing company as a business, because there's 2 different approaches to production in that regard. If your book is just a hobby and it's only for friends and family or for yourself, then it doesn't matter as much if you take some production shortcuts and save some money. But if your book is meant for sale as a business, then the bar is higher, because now you're asking people to hand over their hard-earned money for your book. So they deserve quality. And they will, like I said, they will retaliate with bad reviews if they don't get it. So don't do that to yourself. Every business requires an investment, and publishing is no exception.
I like that a lot. And I think that it's important to talk about what a book is. So, because sometimes a book that you're seeing behind me, lots of books, right? They're this thick or an inch thick versus 20 pages. So what is a book? How would you define a book?
Well, technically a book is 100 pages or more, right? But we've worked on books of all sizes, and actually books have gotten smaller over the years, because the internet has trained us to want information quick now. You won't find 700-page novels like you did in the 1970s. Nobody would buy them and nobody would read them anymore. So books are trending smaller. So I would say when you're getting close to finishing your manuscript, or even when you're planning your manuscript, look at what the big publishers are doing in terms of book length, right? Because they have all kinds of resources available to them to do market research and know what sells. And so as much that you can borrow a lot of information from the major publishers indirectly and take advantage of all their knowledge without actually spending and doing that all yourself.
It's called market research, right?
Well, yeah, and it's for free. I mean, Amazon makes it so easy. You could spend a few days, looking at similar books online at Amazon from major publishers and say, okay, their book is 200 pages. Their cover looks like this. Their interior design looks like this. And they do everything purposefully. Okay. Major publishers and all publishing companies that are serious never do things out of emotion about what they like or what they don't like or what they feel. They always do things with a purpose. They know the market that they're going for, and they do everything to attract that market.
I like that. Are endorsements an important thing to have?
Sure. If you know somebody who's prominent in your field for a nonfiction book, if you can get endorsements from people who everyone would know, that recognize their name, then by all means do that. If you can get an endorsement from someone that's nationally known, say Oprah, then her endorsement would go on the front cover. For endorsements from people that are less known, maybe you can put them on the back cover or on the first inside page of the book. Yeah.
So what have I not asked you that you would like to authors, future authors, or current authors to know?
Oh gosh, you've asked a whole bunch of great questions here. This has been one of the best interviews I've done so far. I'm kind of new at this podcasting thing. So
that's great. I appreciate that. Okay, so this is something I have to ask everybody, but I'm going to tweak it a little. So you are sitting on a park bench and you're talking to your 18-year-old self who isn't quite sure what they want to do. They want to write a book, but they're not quite sure. What would you recommend to them?
Go for it. Don't hold back, because life is all about chasing your dreams. And sometimes you'll catch them and sometimes you won't, but don't ever say no to life.
I love that.
Yeah.
And as a mother, how has this affected, or, how has this impacted your family? Because you've been doing this for quite a while, obviously, this service. And so have you been grateful to be an entrepreneur, and has it helped with being a mom? Like, what would you recommend for women?
Oh, absolutely. In 1980, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to have a baby or open a business. So I just decided I decided I just have to do both. So I opened the business first in 1980. It was a typesetting business. And 2 years later, I had my son, gave birth to my son. And actually, looking back on it now, I think if you own and back then it wasn't possible to work from home. Right. Even though I was in my own business, I had to get in the car and drive to an office and send my son to daycare and so forth. So, but I did have, and it did generate for me, and even more so now, it would generate so much more flexibility than working for a corporation, right? Where you have to count your sick days and take vacation days if your child gets sick and has to go to the doctor and all of that. So being in business, though you will work hard, there's no doubt about that, you do have flexibility to take care of your family at the same time. And I think that is priceless.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, how do people find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Okay, people can go to 1106design.com. That's our website. And if they go there and they put in their email address, they can download for free my little book called Publish Like the Pros. And I guess it's not technically a book. It's 88 pages, but it's a quick read of an overview of what's necessary to publish a book the quality way, and set up with the POD accounts in your own name, like I just talked about. And it hopefully will answer a lot of your questions. And after that, if they want to make contact, they can email me directly at md@1106design.com. Or they can fill out our contact form and tell us a little bit about their book, and then we'll have a conversation with you. We're not a big book factory. We're a small company. We like to give personal attention to every author, and we like to give custom solutions to every author. So that meets their needs and the needs of their book. So that's my pitch, and we would love to talk to you.
I love that. And I cannot stress, obviously, like I said, I have this book series and I'm not, hiring somebody like you is essential. It's critical. If you really want a book that's going to do well, I cannot stress the importance of having somebody like you. I will absolutely be calling you in the future because it's something that is so important. And like, I still don't know. I'm told what to do, I do it, and then I go to the next thing and pass it back off to them and they do their magic and come back. So if you're seriously considering writing a book, then I highly recommend you look into 1106 design.
Well, thank you, Charisse. I like to make a joke of it and say that we always do the right thing because the nuns who taught me are dead, but they're still watching.
Well, Michele DeFilippo, thank you so much for joining us. And Unbreakable Mompreneurs, you have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Charisse.
Thank you. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.